Tell us a bit more about its role during the Second World War.
Essentially, the bank was the main point of covert contact between the Allies and the Axis powers, the Allies and the Nazis, for post-war financial planning for Europe. The two key people involved in this were Thomas McKittrick, who was the president of the bank. He was an American president from 1940 to 1946, and Per Jacobson, who was the bank's economic advisor from 1931 to 1956. What I thought was the most amazing revelation was some documents I found in the OSS archives, which show how Thomas McKittrick was cutting deals with German industrialists in 1944. He was writing to them, and he's saying, look, if you cooperate, when the war's over, when we come in, we'll guarantee your profits for you. We won't decartelize you, because there was a lot of talk at that time of breaking up the giant Nazi industrial conglomerates. He said, you'll be fine as long as you stick with us. It actually says we'll guarantee your profits.
And the clouds over the BIS's reputation in more recent times, in fact in recent years, in the past 4 or 5 years, tell us about that.
Yes, this is a very interesting story which I think has quite important implications, and I think will eventually see some kind of change in the structure of the bank. Well, after Argentina went bust in 1991, it offered most of its creditors about 35 cents on the dollar, and about 90% of these people accepted that, but some of them didn't, and they've tried to sue the bank in Switzerland, because that's where its headquarters. But the Swiss courts, and I think also the Swiss Federal Council, have said that the bank is founded by an international treaty. It is inviolable. It cannot be sued.
And this bank does more than we've already discussed. It's also it's a linchpin. It has a central role in the global financial system and the global financial architecture in bank regulation and in other areas, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the most fascinating things about the BIS, is that how it's continually reinvented itself. There was no need for it to exist after German reparations. It should have been closed down after the Second World War for its collaboration with the Nazis. But it's always reinventing itself, and its latest incarnation is very clever. What they've done is using the bank as a place to host a lot of the new architecture of the global financial system, specifically the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, the one that has Basel 1, 2 and 3 and the 8% rule.
They set the capital adequacy ratios for banks around the world, right?
Yeah, that's not part of the BIS, but it's based at the BIS, which means its service, its secretariat is there. Physically, the people meet at the BIS. The Financial Stability Board is also hosted at the BIS.
And the Financial Stability Board, the FSB, plays an absolutely crucial role, right? I mean, it's one of the central pillars of the new emerging global financial
Absolutely, yeah. The Financial Stability Board coordinates the central banks and the regulators, and that's a good thing, to try and prevent future crashes and to stop central banks going bust and to kind of oversee the whole, mess of commercial banking.
So if the BIS didn't exist today, would we need to invent it? And if we did, what would we invent? Or do you think there's really no need for what they do, or at least for that to be done where it's done?
What I argue is that the bank should be democratized.